Residents and staff, draw your attention to the time and formally open the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder annual electors meeting for the financial year 2021-2022. And I pay my respects to the traditional owners on whose land we gather tonight, their elders past and present. Attendance, we have a number of residents and media and in the meeting room, senior staff and the CEO. We have an apology from local resident Amy Astle, and I think that's all. And we have also in attendance Councillor McKay on the telephone. Mr. CEO, the annual report for the financial year ending 30th of June.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The annual report is presented. It is significantly later than is normally presented to the community. That was due to a number of issues with the audit process going through and the Office of the Auditor General more so than anything that happened within Council. So the time frame was delayed due to finalisation of the audit. It is now presented to, it's been presented to Council and now to the community for adoption.
I'll put the annual report tonight. Sorry, too many budgets going on around.
Mr. Matthew, right? Would Council want to speak to the motion to the annual report? I'll put down the members of the public can also make a comment if they want to. I'll make the report as moved by the Deputy Mayor and Mr. Matthew. All those in favour? Against? Aye, carried. The next item on the agenda, just by the way, members of the public, if you're unaware, traditionally electors meeting was the only time in the year that electors and residents in a community could come along and ask questions directly of council. Of course, the Act was changed and members can, and not only can, but are encouraged to come along and ask questions at every ordinary council meeting of council. But this tradition still remains, although the government has talked about ending and not having annual electors meetings anymore. On our last item on our agenda is other business or general business. Any questions? Mr. Coulson, you've got one here. Is this? Do you want to raise this in general business? Do you want me to read this out? You can read it out. Okay. Yeah, we're into general business, and then the next item after that is just to close the meeting. So, the last thing I'd want to do is stifle your questions. Yeah, sure. Okay. This is from Mr. Coulson, a resident in Boulder. In 2015, you were given the chair by the previous chairman. That meeting was full of conflict of interest with you as the chair. I have raised this issue in council in early 2016. At the time, you were very angry and stood up and said that did not happen. I said, it's in the minutes. You said in an angry voice, I was there, that didn't happen. If it's in the minutes, I'll take it out. Mr. Coulson, you're referring to a council meeting, or was that to a meeting of the council at the golf course?
This is regarding a meeting at the golf course that was previously decided for the Shire officers in the Shire. And let's say you open it there in the meeting and you go through.
Pardon?
Let's say you make a special discussion about it, either now or at the end of the meeting.
No, this is a meeting. I've given you even more
All right,
leeway than I needed, so you can speak to that if you want to.
well, it goes back to December of 2015. A meeting was called by yourself by emails to the councillors of the committee. Now, Mr. Weezy, I think, was the chairman of that particular committee, which was the golf club committee. Is that correct? Well, I thought it was at the time because I couldn't find a name who passed the chair to you. Now, what happened at that meeting is I raised an issue where Mr. Pendle had left that meeting with Mr. Maroney, Mark Maroney, to whom $69,000 was going to be given to him for the third drawing of the clubhouse. The first two drawings were rejected by the golf club, and because they couldn't, the members couldn't see the driveway or the course from the drawings of that had been drawn. Now, Mr. Wilmot was also there, and Mr. Pendle and Mr. Maroney went outside for 2 minutes, as recorded in the minutes. I inquired about that with you. I made a question about that with you. Why did they leave the meeting just prior to the agenda regarding the discussion for the payment of $69,000? Why did they leave just before that meeting? That was discussed. And you said they probably went out to the toilet. That's what you replied here. I said, well, I don't take anybody to the toilet. You got peed off. You didn't like what I said. And you said, that didn't happen. Yet I said, it's in the minutes that it happened. And you got a bit cranky, and you said, if it's in the minutes, I'll make sure it gets out of there. Well, something worse to that effect. Now, that's what you said. What I'm concerned about is the people that was there and allowed to sit in on the decision being made about the $69,000, why were they involved in the actual discussion? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll attempt to answer your question. You are correct. The minutes did say that it was Councillor Pendle, Deputy Mayor at the time, left the meeting. At the same time, the President of the Goldfields Golf Club, Graham Wilmot, and Mark Baroni, not Maroney, left the meeting.
Yes.
There was myself, senior staff, 2 or 3 councillors sitting on a long table here in the main room of the golf clubhouse. What the minutes secretary didn't say was that Councillor Pendle left here on my right and walked down the corridor to the toilets. There is no door from the toilets outside the golf clubhouse, if anyone knows it.
Just excuse me a moment.
No, let me finish telling you. Mark Moroney, not Moroney, and Mr. Wilmot left and walked out onto the veranda and closed the door behind them. They were out there. They coincidentally came back in at the same time the Deputy Mayor walked back from the toilets, and the minute secretary said, reflected that Councillor Pendle returned to the meeting at the same time as the two representatives of the golf club. They didn't go out and collude. Mr. Pendle, the Deputy Mayor, was in the toilets, and unless he climbed out through the window, which
Mr. Bowler, can you look
which he
at me
could
when you're
have climbed
talking?
out through the window, run around and talk to them, but why he would do that anyway, and then run back and then come back in here, I don't know. So that's what happened. I explained that to you then. I explained that to you about a year later. I explained that to you about 3 years later again, but you're not listening. And I'm sorry, that's my explanation. That's the truth of what happened, and you're still trying to drag it up as if there was some collusion, and it wasn't. Thank you.
Well, I disagree entirely with what the statement you've just made, because I have more information. Who was the minutes secretary of that day?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, well, I'll just keep that in my hat for a moment. But at no time did you mention Wilmot going out with Pendle. At no time have you ever mentioned that.
He didn't go out with Pendle. I just explained to you the two golf club members left and went out onto the veranda of the golf club and closed the door behind them. We could see them through one of the golf club windows.
No.
At the same time, Councillor Pendle went to the toilet.
Oh.
The minutes secretary should have, possibly to help you, have said the Deputy Mayor has left the meeting, went to the toilet. The other two members of the golf club went onto the veranda.
What I'd like to do, Mr. Mayor, is I'll show you a screenshot of the minutes that were actually made in that two issues. The screenshot shows that Mr. Pendle and Mr. Moroney left the room and went out together and returned 2 minutes later at 9:57.
As I just said.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
But not finished.
I'm certain it won't be. It's been going on for 7 years now. Why not keep a good thing going? We've got other members of the public in the audience. Any issues you want to raise with council? Yes, sir.
I've had an ongoing dispute with my neighbour at 78 Burke Street.
Bert or Burke?
Burke,
In
near the Tower
Kalgoorlie?
Hotel.
Yep.
I have emailed the council about these concerns and they are yet to be resolved. And I have a piece of paper here with a list of them on it for your reference.
Thank you, sir. Your name?
Greg Sutherland.
Okay, Greg. The issues involve. You've been to the police and staff, or?
The issues involve the council not enforcing their own bylaws correctly.
Okay.
And to make matters worse, one of the council rangers has allowed it to happen.
This involves animals or parking or?
This involves a verge garden on the street, on the verge. It involves a driveway which was constructed without approval and a side fence which has been increased in height above 1.8 metres. And there's a spa bath in his backyard which is most likely not registered. And just a few weeks ago, he extended a fence line adjacent to a shed at my property with incorrect offset.
Okay. Yeah, Greg, look, I'm sure if you leave those matters with the CEO, he'll look into them. And if there's any veracity and if we can help, I'm sure we'll do our best.
I'm sure if the CEO looks into some of the emails, he may find some of my concerns.
Okay, when did this start?
When did I start?
When did it start? How long ago?
Oh, I would say 9 months ago.
Thank you. Look, haven't got an answer here now, but I'm glad you raised it, and this forum gives you that opportunity. We'll look into it.
No worries, thank you.
And thank you for coming. Any other members of the public want to raise an issue? Look, thank you for coming and showing interest. As I say to you, you can come to any meeting now, but this is still in a way, a special meeting. Most of us are going off to the annual State Tourism Conference, which Kalgoorlie is proudly hosting. But thank you for coming, and don't forget you can come to any meeting at all. I'll now formally close the meeting, and thank you for your attendance.
Thanks, Mick.
Thanks, Mick.
Thanks, mate.